Hello, Lisa Chernick. I love your sweater. You are calling in spring. I should have hoped there's something a little less down, drab and down here. You look fabulous.
I had up until just a little while ago, I was wearing a black sweater and I was like, you know what? I can't look at this black sweater anymore. It's like I had to grab the color. I was like, I need color. I need to feel it's coming. So
we're talking spring and we want to look like spring. So I tried to put a little lipstick on. That's my spring color.
Your very beautiful glasses. The frames are so cool.
Right. Yeah, trying to be, trying to have a little pop of something. Right? So I'm so excited to see you here and bring you back to our group. I mean, you're such a valuable part of our community right now. And I'm so excited about our conversation. So Lisa and I get to have these little pre-phone calls where we get to plan and talk about what we're going to do together. And so tonight being the theme is really springing into spring foods. And, we get on these calls and we can barely get off the call because we have so much fun talking about food. So, so I want to start out by really, talking about why I wanted to do a session with you right now is because, one of the biggest mistakes, and I would say this season in and season out, that people make is they get stuck in a seasonal rut of eating things that have the shift is happening. And I thought I'd give an example of that. I have been obsessed with butternut squash. And funny enough, I went to the store tonight and I couldn't find it anymore. All of a sudden it was sort of not there. And I did end up finding some and roasting it. And it looks good, but it's starting to kind of be a little whitish. It's got like that kind of, it's not that vibrant orange that you get in the fall, and it's just outrageously delicious and tasty and flavorful. It's been kind of mealy lately, like just kind of like blah. And I see people get stuck because they know what they're doing with these foods. Maybe they found security with these foods and they get stuck in them and they don't realize they need to take this shift. So tonight is all around that. So I thought I'd open the floor with you just like talking about spring foods and what you're excited about so people can start to think about it.
Well, it's interesting because I completely agree with you. And I feel like everything kind of shifts. And I think it's kind of the best thing about the seasonal changes is that you get to look forward to something new. And it can be a little bit off-putting, which is why it's nice that some things are available year round, because you do kind of get like attached to certain dishes and you don't want to see the ingredients disappear completely. But it's nice to have something to look forward to. And even though I know you can see, it's always at the grocery store, the asparagus is what I'm about to talk about. It's always there. But to me, and I know to you, because we talked about this, asparagus feels like springtime. And I love kind of not making it year round so that I can look forward to it in this moment. Like when it's starting to be like, oh, I can start doing asparagus again. I like try to do it on purpose, hold off a little bit. Because it's such it goes with everything kind of vegetable. I love putting it in rotation in lots of different ways. And like we were talking a little bit, you can roast it. You can even steam it and squeeze some olive oil and lemon and salt, pepper on it that way. You could throw it in salads, chopped up. You can just make it into anything. It's like the perfect spring, like, I don't know. It's like a star. It's like a total star. So
when you're chopping it up into like a salad or something like that, what do you do? Do you blanch it and then do it? Or do you do it raw? Like, what do you do?
I will blanch. Usually if I'm just throwing it in and I just want to have like spears, like I have this lovely, bunch in my hand, and this is the pencil asparagus. It's nice and thin. And these, I'll blanch them. I'll just like set a big sort of saute pan with sides with just like a 1/2 inch of water in it and salt, and I'll just, throw them in, and that's it. And I'll let them go until they turn bright green and they're still pretty crisp. Pull them out, shock them with some cold water, and that's at the end of it. And then you can either use it as a side dish like that, or, just cut them and put it into all your salads and all your anything. And it's just, it's kind of wonderful.
Awesome. Well, and I want everybody watching to know that this is fully interactive. So as we're talking and you have questions, put them in the chat, okay? Just like I'm interrupting Lisa, because I have some, asparagus here that I'm going to work through with Lisa, because she's going to teach me like the best way to get the ends off and like, what should I do? I just thought, while I've got you here, I'm going to learn everything I can.
We'll do it all. We're going to cover it all. We're going to go full on. And before we get into like the actual, like what you can do with it, I have one fun thing to show everybody, which is that there's actually, the one that you have in the bag is a kind of a good standard medium. These are pretty skinny. I think that's why they call them the pencil ones, bringing them a little closer for everybody to see, compared to these guys, which are these big, thick jumbo asparagus. And they are seriously another animal. Like, I mean, this is just look at like one of these compared to like those guys, right? And yeah, and like
what
these
are the big ones called? So like if you were looking for them or asking for them, how do I only see the pencil ones in my grocery store?
Usually it's the pencils, but these are like jumbos. When I think when I was ordering veggies on Fresh Direct, they had the option of, they had so many. So I think it depends on the grocery store. Some of them just have the one kind and that's what you're going to get. But if you see the big thick ones, which sometimes just that's all there even is in the store is the big thick ones. And, sometimes that can be disappointing if you're looking for the other kind, but there's always something good you can do with these. They can be treated just like any other kind, but there's this other really cool thing we can do. And either we can jump right in or we can do it in a minute, but it's this beautiful raw preparation that I'm so excited to tell everybody about.
Oh my God. Well, let's jump in then, because I think that's so fun. I'm going to pin you. I'm going to spotlight you so that everyone can see you, because I know you're going to do some show and tell here a little bit.
Great. Okay, good. So here these guys are, these nice, thick jumbo asparagus spears. And what you can do with them is turn them into like a shaved asparagus salad, just raw shaved stalks. And it seems like, I don't know. It seems like, really, how's that going to be? It's amazing. It's completely amazing. And basically, I'll just hold this up so you can kind of see what will happen. Okay. That's kind of where it's going to go. And I'm keeping these in some ice, like ice water, basically very cold water or ice water, just the same way that you might want to keep like sliced radishes or, some veggies that you want to stay crisp as you're preparing if you're doing it ahead of time. This keeps them from getting kind of limp and soggy, the ice water. So that's all you got to do. So ordinarily, when you're doing asparagus, you want to cut off the woody end bits, right? And I'll show you a fun way to do that other than.
How do you break it? Like I've heard if you break it, it's the perfect measurement.
I love to break them. And when I'm doing these guys, I always break them. Like just, I don't even think twice about it. But for this specific preparation, the shaving preparation, it's really nice to leave the stalky woody end so that you can almost treat it like a handle. It gives you something to hold on to because you're not going to eat it, but you do want to be able to grip it, right? So that's kind of the thing. So I'm going to put this camera down a little so you guys can watch what I'm doing on my cutting board. Here we go. And basically, I'm not going to cut anything. I'll move my knife. I'm going to take the outermost layer off because it gets a little, it's not, you don't necessarily want to eat that. So I'll just kind of make that go away as best I can. Just that very outermost, and I'm not looking to do anything.
Bumps, those knobs, you're kind of taking those off.
A little bit, because what I find is when I do this preparation, if I have a lot of that, it starts to feel chewier than the rest. And it kind of texturally just isn't my favorite thing, but you could leave it on. It doesn't really, it's just a preference thing. So I'm just going to go like this all the way, a little bit of this. I've done it both ways, to be honest with you. And this is just personal preference. You can totally eat it without doing this and just go right in. So now once you've got it where you want it, right? And by the way, of course, when you're cooking asparagus and it's going into hot water or in an oven, whether you rinse it or not, it's always nice to rinse your vegetables, but it's not as important as a preparation where you're eating it raw. So you want to make sure that you've given them a really nice vegetable, nice wash with a veggie spray or without a veggie spray, and they're nice and clean so that you're totally ready to go and you're going to eat them raw. So, okay, here we have a big thick spear ready to roll. And all you got to do holding on down here, right? You're just gonna, moving those out. You're just gonna take this, press nice and hard, and you're just gonna go like that, and you're gonna shave.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's a thicker, much thicker.
Yeah, and this is like really thin though. This is just with like a
a vegetable peeler.
Yeah, just a vegetable peeler, and it's paper thin. I'm just going to dump it into my ice water, and I'm just go. I mean, you can go faster than this if you don't. They break a little, but that's fine too. You're just going to keep going until you sort of have to position it a little bit to get what you want, and then you can kind of flip it over. Do a little on this side. What I discovered as I was getting ready for talking about this tonight is that I really need a new vegetable peeler. I feel like you need one with a really nice sharp blade to get what you want, And this one's like, I've had it for so long, I can't remember. And then this is a little bit thicker in here, but you can just snap it off and throw it right in like that. So you've got this, and you can just keep going and going with the whole stalk. Right now I'm, maybe halfway, and what you'll do is you'll just take these out, grab a little paper towel over here. You'll take them out when you've had everything ready, or if you're going to eat them, you can just go right into your serving bowl, right? And fix that. You're just going to sort of get some of the water off, just like, get them a little bit dry and put them, you just don't want too much water clinging to them. It's not like they have to be totally dried off, but you're just going to set them up like that, right? And you're going to put them in your serving bowl, and you're just going to toss this with olive oil, salt, pepper, and fresh squeeze of lemon juice, just lemon right on top, and it just to the balance that you like. And you're going to toss, and this unbelievably delicious, magical thing happens. And this beautiful paper thin shaved asparagus becomes like the perfect crunchy salad. It's just beautiful. You can eat it just like that. It's so good. It's like refreshing, and it's just a way to make your asparagus a salad and a crunchy raw thing.
I love it. Oh my God, it's so fun. Something so new and so different. I'm wondering about using it and adding it. You could just mix that in with your regular salad even.
You totally could. You could put either way. It can take on its own, whole own thing as a side dish, or you can throw it right in with other stuff. So it's a favorite.
So olive oil, salt, pepper, lemon.
Fresh lemon, nice squeeze. And then just like you were imagining you would be dressing, salad greens, same kind of balance that you would want. And then you'll just take a bite of one and you'll just go like, oh my God. And then you can obviously adjust your seasonings, but that's all it takes. And it's, actually, the other thing I do love putting in there, I will say, I also like shaving from like your wedge of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese that you have in your fridge. I also like tossing that in or putting that on top. And then it even is one more like element of delicious.
Another layer. Yeah. I brought this beautiful shredded parm.
Oh, nice.
On top of my roasted asparagus, just sort of at the end. I like to put it in there and just broil it for a second and get a little brown bubbly Parmesan on top of the roasted asparagus. So
that is good. I'm very fond of that. I am very, very fond of that.
You have another vegetable for us, which I'm super excited for you to talk about, because I'm not a pro in this vegetable, and it is such a spring staple, but I can say I don't think I've ever, maybe other than once, bought this vegetable.
That's okay. So I'm here to be completely like, I'm going to be the fennel evangelist. I'm going to try to get everybody to be like, oh my God, fennel is the best thing ever. Okay. So I love fennel. I like it raw, but when it's raw, it has a very distinct taste, almost like a slightly licoricey taste, if you're not familiar with it. But when you roast it, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Here is my specimen that I'm going to check. This big beast. I kind of like look through it. And this is what you're going to see in the grocery store if you go to buy it. And it, I've seen when I do, sometimes they have something they're going to call wild fennel or organic fennel, and it's a much smaller version of this, and it's pricier, and there's really no reason to opt for it. Just your standard fennel bulb that they might be selling in the grocery store is awesome.
Okay.
And it looks a little daunting, but that's okay.
It does. And sometimes I've seen it where it's the stalks are cut off of it.
They're already cut off. Like it's sort of easier to deal with because it's like you're only going to really be using this part. These fronds up here, I will also say are nice to pull off before you toss them. Pull a nice handful off because they're beautiful as a garnish at the end, on top of the roasted fennel. It's
Does
just
it
like
have a flavor, or is it just kind of like a little garnish, like parsley?
it's just like a little garnish like parsley, almost like if you had something that had a dill flavor and you wanted to put some fresh dill on at the end. It's sort of a flavor echo in a way, of what you had.
Nice.
So that's kind of the gist. So
Actually, just so beautiful, you know.
I know it's just beautiful, and it has the smell. You smell it, and you're like, oh, okay. And then when you roast it, what happens is it takes on this like really warm, rich, sweet quality. And the preparation I'm going to show you, I do it with grated either pecorino romano, parmigiano reggiano, grana, whatever, any grated cheese that's like the one you like, or any combination, and you layer it. And there's something about the cheese and the fennel. It's almost like your house starts to smell like you're cooking sausage or something, because seeds are an ingredient in sausage. So there's something about the cheese. I don't know, something just amazing happens when you roast.
And that leads me to ask, like, where are the fennel seeds?
I don't think you're going to get the seed. I think only if it goes to seed would you see them. Like they're not going to be here in the actual raw vegetable. They're somewhere, not the part that you buy. Maybe down like below maybe there was something, I don't know. That's a great question, Liz. I don't know.
Well, because that sort of, that fennel is what you usually, those fennel seeds are often what you taste in sausage.
Exactly. And it's such a distinct like flavor that's not like, you can't quite put your hand on it. Like you know it, but when you smell it and you taste it, you're like, oh, right. It gives it like almost like a meaty umami, something really good. And that's from this. So if you guys want, I can show you how to deal with this thing.
Yeah, because I want to know how to deal with it, because I love adventuring into vegetables.
Yeah,
I haven't gone into before it's a real
and this one, to me, this just really speaks to springtime. And the dish that I'm going to show you that I'm already setting up, I've done it just with fennel, like I will show you in a minute. And I've also done it where you add carrots, and it feels very springtime. It feels really nice as something you could have like with an Easter or a Passover meal. It can get, kind of nice for a special occasion. And it's really just the easiest thing. It's like hilarious that, something that can look so like, wow, can be so easy. So that's kind of that's it. Now these guys I'm going to save so I can pull some fresh ones later. But that's all you really have to do. And then what I do is I kind of just give it a look. And I always take off if one around the end, it's almost like, the way that I'm just going to show you guys, like it really kind of like, it's this beautiful
cabbage.
Like right? Cabbage almost. It is. It's almost like a cabbage. But like sometimes the last one, pardon me, the dog is going to keep going because the next neighbor's dog. Okay. So classic. So sometimes you'll see like there one or both of the outer sides just look a little too rough. Just get rid of them. It's fine. You don't have to have them, or you could just cut the part that you don't like and keep going. The other thing you want to do is just make a little, not too big, or else it's all going to start falling apart on you, but just a tiny little cut to get the bottom kind of out of there, right? Yeah. And then you're sort of looking at it and you think to yourself, maybe, oh, well, how would I cut this? Would I cut it like this? My answer is no. Or would I cut it like this? That's the way to cut it. And the reason is that you're going to get these really pretty kind of like slices that look almost like a hand with fingers. So I'll show you. I'm just going to start in on it. So you're going to just go like that, right? And I like to make these about, not somewhere between a half and a quarter inch, maybe a third is really the answer there, for thickness. And just kind of cut down in there, and that's it. You're just going to go, that's it. This is the whole thing, really. And then you're just going to do this till you're done. And you'll be using these lovely little pieces in the dish. And some of them stay together. You can see that it's all about, the middle ones stay together perfectly. So look how pretty these are, right?
Beautiful.
Nice. They're
Yeah.
really nice. And they just get really tender and they, really nice. So you can kind of like take a look at them. And sometimes I set it up so that the really pretty ones, I make sure that I save those for like, if I want it to show at the end of the dish when I'm layering it, right? So I'm going to put in the dish and show you guys kind of where we're gonna go with this. So this is kind of it. And you could do this in a pan, rectangular pan just as easily, but this is one that, for 2 fennel bulbs, this size, this oval is kind of good because you're gonna layer them and, you're not laying them flat on the bottom. You're sort of putting them at like a 45-degree angle. I don't know if you kind of
I see. There's a little bit of air coming up under it.
Exactly. So in between each of these layers, what I do is I do a little salt and pepper on the fennel. Because as long as you season everything all the way and it's nicely seasoned, everything will just season as you go, each step. It'll always taste right. This is my little, I have this fun little thing where I combine salt and pepper for cooking, so I don't have to do each step. And so I'm just gonna season these guys, right?
How do you get the balance right? Do you do half and half in there, or what do you?
I played with it. Like I started with the salt. I went most of the, like more than half of the way up with the salt. And then I started adding pepper. I did it like in a mixing bowl. Like I knew salt. I started, I measured the salt first and then in the mixing bowl. And then I added the pepper to the like desired proportions that I like to work with. And then I just have it on hand in this so that I don't have to make it a 2-step process all the time. Sometimes you just don't have time to go grabbing, thing. So this is one of my favorite little things. I'm salt and peppering all of these guys just a little bit, right?
Yep.
And then what happens is I will layer the new ones here. I'm wondering if that, I'll show you the layer. Right. So there you have it. And I ended with cheese. This is my grated Grana Padano that I'm using. And I ended on the cheese layer. So now we can kind of go.
Is that like a Parmesan or more like?
It is like the Grana is very much like a Parm. It's almost exactly a Parm. It tends to be a lower price point. If you see it at the grocery store, it's totally worth getting it and grating it or buying it freshly grated. They do it right at the place, which I love. It has the same taste, but it's usually a less expensive. If you go through it on like a lot of it, like it's good to have that as a backup, I think. And the pecorino has a much sharper, saltier kind of taste. And sometimes I do it with the pecorino. If I do, I wouldn't probably put as much salt. I'd be very like aware that the saltier cheese would, you'd balance it that way. And if you can imagine, like if you were doing this with the carrots, you could layer, I'll just go back down to this view. You could layer like 1 row of carrot and 1 row of fennel, or you could set it up in any kind of design that sounded, that looked or sounded fun to you.
I think you were telling me on our call that you cut the carrots on sort of a bias.
Totally. I would like a big carrot, even if you have, I'll cut it. I don't have enough carrots, but you could do it like on a nice bias for the same kind of thickness. And you could just set them up, like line them all up like little, like standing up in a row, and then a row of fennel and so on and so on. So here I have the, I'm just going to put that, and we're just going to keep the layering. And then at the end, I'll do one last thing.
Now my dogs want to come in, so I'm listening.
It's so funny, the dogs, they just can't, they're just like, no, I have to protect you at all costs from I don't know what. So I'm just, and you don't have to, you can just kind of zhuzh around if you have extra pieces and you don't know, don't waste them, just throw them in. Oh, and I didn't even put my cheese, look at me, not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Classic.
That's okay. We see now, you can shove it in if you forget.
You can just jam everything in there. Nobody will, if you want to be, you can save the prettiest ones just for the, the end right here for people to see. And then the other thing you do is you just take the olive oil and you just do a little drizzle. This one is, the pourer is weird. Come on, olive oil guy. Yeah, there we go. And just kind of like that, just drizzle it around. And then what I will also do, I've been making this for so long that I've kind of come up with little things that I think make it really come out totally perfect. And sometimes one of those things is I'll just add water to the pan, like a couple of teaspoons.
Okay.
And I'll just put it in there, and then I'll cover this with foil for the first 10 or 15 minutes of cooking. Then the foil comes off and it just gets, caramelized and golden, and the cheese gets brown and the whole house smells insane. And that's your dish. And it's usually at like maybe 400 and probably 10 or 15 with the foil, and then probably another 20 to 25 without. And I'll write it all down, and we could put it up if people want it.
Well, I wondered if when you bake that, will you take a picture of it when it's done so we can put it on the walls? That would be amazing. Yeah, that way. And then we can give like a slight, like, hey, 400 for this long, cover it with foil, like just a little high level, because I think this is really interesting and I can't wait to try it. One of those are like, oh, a new vegetable in my life.
A new vegetable, a low carb vegetable too. I'm pretty sure it's nice and low, if I'm not mistaken. I think I looked, and now I don't remember.
Low carb veggie for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. It's nice, like I was saying, it's really, really nice to just pull this out as a side dish for like a holiday meal, because it's like, you could see how easy that was, like hello, nothing.
And people think it's something.
It looks so like, wow, when it hits the table. Everybody's like, oh my God, and everybody can take like a piece or two of the fennel, and it's just adds something really nice, pretty, and it tastes great. So yeah, it's a win.
Well, it's a big win. I love it. Well, so we've got a raw asparagus salad that we've got a fennel dish. Then you and I were talking about frittata, and this beautiful frittata that you saw. And so I made you able to share your screen, but we're always looking for, especially I feel like spring, guys, another thing other than just shifting into new vegetables and new foods, and I think we should do a little brain dump of like some of the foods that we'll be shifting into other than asparagus and fennel. Just really thinking about the fact that I was thinking about this morning on my run as well. It's like all of a sudden it's lighter out. And my friend asked me if I want to come over tomorrow night and see her new place and have a drink. And all of a sudden, so January, February, and a lot of March are hibernation months. Yes. And there are very few social outings. And a lot of times people get tricked into feeling like they're in this weight loss mode, and that all of a sudden, as the spring starts to open up and more parties and Easter and Passover and travel for spring break and all these things start happening that in their cocoon were not happening, and they don't know how to handle it. So there can be a bumpy road that begins. Right.
Right. You really are just like coming out and socializing, and you're kind of like, whoa, I'm at someone else's house. I can't dictate the food. But it's like, but if you're thinking about it the right way, it's all going to just be fine. It's all make it all work.
So just keeping their eyes open too, right? Thinking about like, oh yeah, I do know what I'm doing, and I do know how to socialize, and I do know, I'm creating this lifestyle where I can actually, sustain what I'm doing here. So, learning, but having your eyes open, I think that's the worst part, is sometimes you get blindsided. That's why we do so much prep and planning work, not deep prep and planning, but like just taking a look at the week ahead. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I traveled last week. I've got an invite for tomorrow night. I've got travel again next week. Like all of a sudden it's happening. Passover's coming, right? Like all of this that is happening. So as long as you have your eyes open, remembering too that some of the stuff that we're talking about, having these delicious foods, if you're entertaining, that are a part of what you want to be, eating, is great. So
I completely agree. When you're hosting, you can absolutely just like, you don't, as I think so many of the people, who have become familiar with Target 100 and are doing it, are realizing like there is so much leeway here for things to be delicious and beautiful and wonderful and still be in the Target 100 mindset that you're kind of in when you're, taking care of yourself. And to me, that's like it. I'm always looking for those little moments. And to me, these things, and that's one of the reasons that it's so nice, is that these were things that I liked always, to do even years and years ago when I wasn't eating like this. And it's beautiful to sort of let them bubble up and be like, oh yeah, wait, that's the thing I'm going to pull out for this dinner when the people come over, because it works for me and it's going to work for everybody too. So
yeah, I love it. I love it. So, and that's the thing about having a repertoire of foods, right? And about knowing your seasons and having stuff that you're looking forward to making that you haven't made since last spring, right? So this will probably be my last batch of butternut squash, but that's okay. I love it in the fall and I look forward to it.
I know. For me, it's I'm sort of saying goodbye to the Brussels sprouts that seem to be constant in my life, and I'm kind of shifting into these other things that are also, the green. They're also green, but it's just like, and I kind of feel like it does keep it more special. Like you kind of think about something that you don't sort of have it all the time. It keeps.
I'm definitely finding I'm back into salads again, like all of a sudden with the day getting longer, and like I'm wanting to make, like I made a salad. It's sitting here. I made a salad tonight for dinner and was like, oh, I'm wanting to do that again. It's coming as an actual desire again. Whereas before it was like, I need a baked potato and I need like chili and I need like these warm foods. So now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, spring is coming. It's here. So I love this idea of, eggs, a frittata. We've done what that was, that beautiful dish that you recommended that we made. It wasn't a quiche. It was I think it was a frittata that you had us do. And I think it had leeks in it and it was beautiful. Yeah. It was fabulous. So I think a crustless, egg dish is
always. And this frittata, I'm going to do the share the screen thing and let you see it. Let's see right there. Hold on a second. Did that? Tell me if that is working.
There we go. Starting to, oh, wow.
Isn't that beautiful? That's
beautiful.
Say that again.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Oh, I know. It is absolutely beautiful. And all it is really is just the simplest frittata. And you don't even really have to follow this recipe to a T. Because I think that what they did was I forget if they used the ends for one thing. There's cream. I mean, it's again, it's rich and it's flavorful and it's amazing. I think they had some red onion in there, and maybe they cut the bottoms off of the asparagus. But then again, if it's, the woody bottoms, you're not going to chop that up and eat it. But anyway, and they kind of just added that to the egg and everything else. And that's it. I mean, like, how gorgeous is that? You could do that for like a brunch. Or you could do that like on a Tuesday night, because it takes all of like 15 minutes of your life and you get this delicious thing. And it's like, wow, that is so beautiful. And that's a way of having asparagus that I just wouldn't have even really thought of. Like I stumbled upon it and I was just like, oh my gosh, wow, I totally want to make this.
I want to make it for sure. Do you think they made the asparagus and then placed it on top of that?
I cannot recall. Let's see. Let's take a look together.
Yeah.
They have separate.
Yeah, cook them.
Right. Okay. They have you cooking them in a skillet.
Yeah.
Interesting. Until they're crisp, tender. Oh, because they're kind of wanting you to blister them. That's their kind of, way of doing it. And so you're going to blister them in the pan. And then I think you kind of take them out and you add the red onion and the garlic and the oregano and the reserved ends, which I don't know if I would do that or not, but you can. And then cook it, pour your egg mixture on it, plop let's see, when did they put the asparagus on? Let's see, wait. I think you put the asparagus on just before you pop it into the oven. So a lot of this is stovetop, and then you're going to pop it in, and it's going to just go into the oven, and that's
right on top of it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's set right on top. I love it.
I read it through and I forgot it all.
Yay! So I hope we're inspiring folks to think about this. Just again, great frittatas and things like that. So
yeah, because I think people often will just think of asparagus as something that has to be kind of chopped up, which is great, but like then you sort of can see it in I don't know, just sort of unusual things. Like you can even do it like on a flatbread or like a little pizza. Like it's so nice. You could do
pizza. Yeah, that's delicious on a pizza with good like nice ricotta. Yes. We do a lot of low carb tortilla pizzas.
Exactly.
So good.
With oh my God, that would be delicious, Liz. You could do ricotta and the asparagus, and you could even do like little, you could do, there's all those fun kind of more exotic spring vegetables like ramps and garlic scapes and all that crazy stuff that if you go to a green market, it's like there and you're like, what should I do with it? Sort of throw it in a pan, soften it up, and put it on a pizza. Like all
that is the best. That is the best.
Amazing.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Well, first I'm going to ask you some questions about these asparagus. I'm going to have to stop sharing your screen.
Let me do that. Let's
do.
Okay.
Awesome. And I'm going to unpin you. So let's see here. Maybe I'm not. No, I'm getting there. All right. So I've got these sort of pencils, and you said it is the best thing to break them.
It is 100%. We can do one together. Here, I'm going to take my, watch this.
What's the magic? Because so I broke one just now. And look how far up it broke.
Well, sometimes that's really where it needs to go, right? So I'm holding my two sort of upside down. Yeah. And the idea is like, if you're in a big hurry, you're probably going to like get some of these in the wrong place and end up wasting some asparagus. But if you do it one at a time, you're really getting the right spot where you want to hold like the end and like a little bit farther, and you just want to like let it slowly snap. That's it.
Wow, it is much more than I would have expected.
Right? It is much more. And maybe that's what, with that frittata recipe, maybe they were sort of saying like, okay, really, you could cut this into
and use it
before you really get to this part here. That's really yucky and woody.
That's the yucky part. And when you get that in your mouth, it's the worst.
So it's like, I think the idea is you just kind of want to hold it as close to that woody end as possible when you do the bend, and there it goes. That's really the right spot.
All right. And then, for me, I'm just putting them on a pan. I was going to ask you another question while I've got you. I have been using, as you can see here, my roasted butternut squash. A lot of times I've been using foil, but do you usually use parchment?
Well, not necessarily. I like using foil. Because sometimes with parchment, it can give you kind of a moisture environment sometimes. And sometimes I don't want that to happen. It just kind of depends.
I feel like I don't get this like yummy, crusty stuff if I use parchment, right?
I kind of agree with you. And I think it depends. Like if you're going to have something in an oven for a really long time and you're going to be cooking it on a pretty high heat, you can't go too high because parchment would like catch fire. You can 425 probably. But if you're going to be at like 425 in convection, you'll probably still get some browning. But it's more of a sure bet with the foil. So my feeling is as long as you're putting olive oil on there anyway, I think when you're being more sort of, let's say, judicious with the amount of olive oil you use, then I think you're definitely in a riskier place with like whether you're going to get the browning or not on parchment. And anywhere really, but like if you're putting on an appropriate amount of oil to cook the food with and not worrying about that, which is like how I love that life is.
Yeah.
You're
And
gonna,
I'm so mad at the life that I lived of like Pam spray and fat, like spray butter and all the things that we did. And I was terrified. I would measure the oil like somebody was going to come and arrest me if I went over the half teaspoon, all, you know what I mean? Like, and now I'm just like, I have the thing, just, I've got this guy and I'm just like, there's no measuring there, like it gives you that, that nice browning at the bottom of these things that that you get, and it tastes so delicious and so much more satisfying. I get much fuller from having a good base of olive oil.
100%. And I really think I think that's one of the reasons why I realize I'm digressing slightly, but when you go to a foreign country and the food is delicious and wonderful and everything tastes so fresh and everything is just delicious, you feel so satisfied without having to like gluttonously eat and eat and eat. Like the sense of satisfaction kind of comes from, I think, the fact that the food is cooked properly and it all has the optimal flavor because they weren't trying to skimp their way around and not really do it the way, like they understand the importance of things tasting good and being cooked properly. And I think ultimately that's how everybody needs to eat. And then we do that and we feel satisfied and we're like, oh, I had something delicious. I feel great. Dinner's done. You know what I mean? Rather than like some giant pile of like sad food that wasn't properly, coated in olive oil that just steamed in its own juices in the pan because it was just sad.
No,
So,
it is much more satisfying. It is much more satisfying. So, all right. So as I say, I'm just roasting this straight, on foil, olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic for me. Then at the end, I sprinkle this delicious cheese over the top of it, put it back in the oven and turn the broiler on until it gets brown and bubbly. And then I bring it out, let it set. And it's just so delicious.
So delicious. Okay, you win. That's like, I want that.
But I like the idea even of behind you of the little bit of lemon on that as well. Like having
squeeze the lemon is like always fun because it just brightens the situation. Like right before you put it on the table, just like no further away than that. Just like and serve. And it's always it does something kind of nice. Like that little bit of acid kind of just makes it all.
Yeah. What else do you think when you're thinking spring foods for people? Let's just brainstorm a little.
I'll tell you, I've been really into this idea. There's a beautiful recipe, and I don't have it handy, but I can look it up and share it if people want. That I got into making, and it's basically like radishes, which also feel very springy to
Very
me.
spring, right? Spring.
Whatever. But they're so pretty, especially the really colorful, gorgeous ones that you can buy, like the candy
nowadays. Yeah, you can get so many good colorful ones.
And so it's radishes and cucumbers, and you sort of toss it with a really simple lemon olive oil vinaigrette that you make. And then you reserve a little bit of that vinaigrette. And it's that wonderful cookbook author, food authority, Samin Nosrat. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right, but it's her recipe. And I think it has sort of like a sort of Middle Eastern, Persian kind of quality to it, that maybe it's something that's more kind of the usual over there as a salad. But the real kicker is on top of the radishes and the cukes, you do this beautiful thing where you take what they're calling soft herbs and you dress them. And in the case of this salad, it's just an absolute showstopper, in my opinion. You're taking, I think it's cilantro, mint, tarragon. What else is in the mix? Cilantro, mint, tarragon. Oh, what else? Dill. And there might be one other. And you're just taking that and you're just tossing with a tiny bit of the vinaigrette, and you're like plopping a cloud of that on top of the vegetables. So when people take the salad, you take a little bit of the beautiful soft herb salad and a little bit of the crunchy. And it's like, oh my God. And there are toasted walnuts in there as well, just for a little extra.
And then my mind was like drifting off to some sort of soft cheese on there as
Oh,
well.
yes. That would be so good.
Yes, right? Just
Like some burrata or some torn,
yeah,
like
yeah.
oh
See,
yeah.
you guys usually we go off on tangents because we both love food so much.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that idea because I think the goat
Roasted
cheese.
walnuts. Oh, and little goat cheese, like a mild, really mild one, and then the herbs and a dressing.
Let me grab something from my fridge because I do want to
Yeah.
show you one thing that I'm really into. You know, you can get goat cheese, however, but now this one, I feel like I reach for it and use it more because it is crumbled. It's from the Vermont Creamery people, and it's, it's already ready to use, right? So the thing that I find is if I'm buying a little log, I'm going to show it to you guys. If I'm buying a log of goat cheese and I have to squeeze it and pinch it, it gets messy. And sometimes I just don't want to be bothered. So I might not use my goat cheese. But this, it's ready. All I have to do is sprinkle it on. See, check it out.
And I was using this in my salad tonight, just a little crumbled,
A little
beautiful
blue.
fish blue cheese, right? Like, so again, I'm in the same place as you. Like, that's why I think, talking the recipes that you showed us are so simple and so fast and something that will be so different in your life, right? I'm telling you guys, this takes me all of 3 minutes to break these, put them, and you don't have to do them one at a time. I do them in chunks. Like I literally and then drizzle it, put it in, put the cheese on. Like, it's got to be so simple. Even my salad tonight, it was like I buy the beets, the love beets that are already cleaned. I chop those up in there. I put a little blue cheese in there. I put some beautiful figs in there. Figs, I feel like, are such a beautiful add to anything,
Oh, I love figs so much. I love them when they're fresh. I love them when they're dried. I love them all the time. They're
love
so
them all the time, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few more things that are going to be popping back into our lives before we wrap it up here.
Well, I just to sort of jump back onto the bandwagon with the radishes. I definitely think that that's a thing. You can make like a shaved radish salad. I have one of those handheld little like OXO mandolin thingies, and you could just a whole bunch of radishes and you just have a beautiful pile of those, and even if you don't do that herb thing that we were talking about, just those, and you could do even like those carrots, those rainbow carrots, the same.
Yes.
And you could just make that the most gorgeous like pop of color salad, just like with a simple vinaigrette, like on a platter. Like that to me is beautiful, because these things, the carrots just feel like all these things are just like popping up out of the ground. It feels like spring. They're kind of, the reminder that things are coming back and the ground isn't frozen anymore. And hooray. So that makes
this carrot recipe that we do all the time. Such a beautiful picture.
That's great. I love that.
She called it sweet and smoky carrots, and you just roast the carrots, and then it's a little bit of cumin, sea salt, a drizzle of honey, lime, and cilantro.
Oh, I love those flavors with the carrots.
It's so simple.
Yeah, because my brain sometimes just defaults to that kind of like Italian, like olive oil, lemon, cheese kind of thing. I love being reminded that all of these vegetables are just amenable to any flavor profile, the same way that you could make a chicken breast in a million ways. You can do all these things with the vegetables too. And that would be delicious.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'll take a picture of this recipe and put it up in the walls as well, because David and I make it all the time. Like my kids eat them like crazy, like, because there's that hint of sweetness with the honey, and it's delicious. So carrots,
Yeah, what else do you like for the
I
summer?
mean, I think like the proteins change too. Like I did, think about and made sausages tonight.
You
And
did.
I did, I made a chicken apple sausage for the boys. The whole pack is gone, just FYI. I didn't even get to have one. Thank God I was happy with my salad. So you and I were talking
Laughing.
we were talking about lamb, and I was thinking about a pork
Yeah.
roast, like a pork roast, just getting a really nice little piece of a nice piece of pork and doing that with a little mint and like, like it kind of it changes.
It changes. And we talked about like I love lamb, and I think that it's just like one of the ultimate treats of like spring. Again, it feels like it's something you don't eat all the time. Um, but I know it's not everybody's bag, so that's fine. But I feel like just the idea of a simple roasted protein with all of these like vibrant veggie sides is just like perfection. I really like doing that. Like you were saying, the pork, you could do the pork loin. You could, I even like these things with, even with salmon, if you're like a fan of salmon, it's really beautiful to have all of these things with that as the centerpiece, like a beautiful whole fillet side of salmon and all of these lovely vegetables around it to kind of like, you know, dip in and have your centerpiece of the salmon. That's beautiful. I would totally be into that.
Yeah. Well, and when you said when you were talking about cucumbers, I was thinking about tzatziki and how
Oh,
that feels like spring to me too, like somehow that feels like fresh and it's a great dip, it's a great marinade, it's a great, making your own is very, very easy
yeah,
and goes over like wildfire when people come over.
it really does. People love, yeah, I completely agree with that. It's a really delicious, like bright, fresh, that crispy cucumber freshness. It's just like,
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, it tastes so good. Um, and when you said it, it also reminded me of another thing that we talked about. And again, the one I made happened to have been with lamb, but it's such a versatile thing. Meatballs are so nice to make, whether you have access to, a meat that you might not make all the time, like a lamb meatball with a tzatziki. What a beautiful combination. If you like those flavors, they go together so well. But just really anything, like that's a really nice preparation. And it doesn't even have to be like a tomato sauce meatball. It can just be, you make them, you roast them, and then they're just out on a beautiful platter as part of
With, I mean, a good meatball with a drizzle of tzatziki over the top,
yeah,
right? It's like such a different profile than a red sauce sort of Italian meatball, but a more Greek, like having a little more Greek flavor and flair to it. I just love that.
and it can even, again, with meatball, like you can do so many things. Like that can also go into that kind of more Middle Eastern profile where you've got like cumin and mint and those kinds of flavors popping in with the meat. Like meatballs are really fun for that. They, I'm not going to pretend that they don't take a little more effort than just putting in a roast, but they're really not. It seems like it's a bigger deal than it is when you actually make it. I just made them the other night, and it's really, and I'm one of those people that's just like, oh, it's such a, it's gonna be such a. My husband's like, oh, why
Not so bad.
So
I used to get my kids involved. I got my kids involved because I didn't like it, this part, but they love it.
they love it. They don't mind at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I have like a million like plastic gloves that I bought when we nobody knew what was going to happen with the world. Like, put the gloves on.
part. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to make sure if anyone has any questions, please pop them in the chat. It is always such a joy to spend time with you, Lisa, and you teach us something every time, and it just really is a treat to be here with you. And thank you for your thoughtful preparation and your recipes and all the stuff, guys. Lisa is with me on Sunday night. We're doing Sunday supper for those of you guys in the membership. She put together 3 beautiful recipes. You all can either just join us. You don't have to cook anything. I'll be making, I can't remember what I decided I was going to make.
Chicken. Yeah, chicken.
Make the chicken. You're going to make the salmon.
I think I'm going to either make, well, I'm either going to make the salmon or the eggplant. I'm on the fence. We're gonna see where we're gonna go. I'm gonna
We'll
have
see what's going to happen there, but we'll be having a great conversation on Sunday supper and making those recipes and just enjoying everyone in the membership and talking about our weeks ahead. So
yeah, I love doing this too.
well, thank
Always
you.
a
Thank you.
pleasure. So great to meet you as always. And yeah, look forward to doing it again in a couple days.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You
Good night.
too.
Bye.